The hidden truth that everyone keeps quiet about. One night in the wild without your belongings is not a feat, but part of everyday life for many peoples of North America in the past. When bags, knives, and warm blankets disappear, all that remains is knowledge of the terrain, familiarity with the wind, and the ability to see the earth as an ally. In the Great Plains, the eastern woods, and the subarctic, people have spent centuries surviving nights without shelter, finding warmth where there seemed to be none. These stories are not romantic, but rather a calm, measured practice passed down in families and tribal camps. Watch the video to the end, and you will learn how nothing turns into a set of specific actions on which the morning depends. I will reveal the most closely guarded secret. To survive the night without equipment means to stop thinking of yourself as empty in advance. On the plains, the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho did not look at the horizon with anxiety. They read it like a page, where the wind breaks, where the grass is taller, where the soil folds retain heat. For the Iroquois in the forest belt, an empty place was rarely empty. Bark, leaves, dry pine needles, and fallen trunks became raw materials. For the Cree and Athabascans in northern latitudes, snow was not an enemy, it was a building block that held its shape and muffled the wind. This is the first thought of an overnight stay. Not, I have nothing, but I have what is under my feet and above my head. What I am about to show you is prohibited in 12 countries, although it is just a matter of being attentive. Before sunset, the eye seeks not a beautiful picture, but a quiet place. On the plains, this is the leeward side of a low slope, where the grass is denser and the air is slightly warmer. In the eastern forests, it is a convex ridge instead of a damp lowland where cold accumulates like water. Near rivers, choose the second terrace above the riverbed so that the fog does not chill your clothes from the inside. In the north, it is a pocket behind a snowy hill where the wind loses its strength and the sound becomes muffled. A secret passed down from generation to generation. The body is the first and foremost resource, and it must be packed with the right decisions. Movement before dark should be measured so as not to sweat. Moisture on the skin means future cold. Sitting on the bare ground means losing heat, so put everything dry you can find under your body. Dry grass, wood chips, bark. It is better to breathe through fabric or a sleeve so that warm air returns inside. No race for heroism, just saving energy and clear consistency. The hidden truth that everyone keeps quiet about. Shelter does not begin with walls, but with direction. The wind is the director of the night, and the tribes of the plains treated it with respect, like a powerful neighbor whose habits are known. If it blew from the west during the day, by dusk it often fell into the lowlands, and therefore it was worth climbing half a meter higher than you would like. The forest gives the illusion of silence, but the draft walks through the ravines like corridors. It is soft underfoot there, but cold. The snow in the north seems the same, but the dense wind-blown crust holds its shape, while the loose snow settles under the weight. What happens behind closed doors actually happens in the open air. The ritual of checking the four sides. First, where the wind is hiding and how it might change by nightfall. Then, where it is most damp and what to do about it. Next, what to put under oneself so as not to warm the ground, but to warm oneself from one's own body heat. And finally, what can be picked up by hand without disturbing nature. Dry leaves under trees, chips from the inner layer of bark, thin branches that have already fallen on their own. This is not a set of techniques, but a calm, repetitive logic. What we found in the old archives is simplicity. Don't be a hero and don't rush. On the plains, many tribes began preparing for the night long before dusk, when it was still warm to move around and dry to gather bedding. In the forest, the Iroquois valued attentiveness to the soil over physical strength. Brown and crunchy was best, green and wet was worse, and white and rotten was cold. In the north, gathering snow is a matter of density, not depth. Spending the night is not a test of endurance, but a test of calmness. Here's a secret that will change your hiking life. Don't try to beat the night, just let it pass. When your body is sheltered from the wind, with a dry layer underneath, and your breath isn't stealing your warmth, time works in your favor. On the step slope, you can hear the rustle of grass. In the forest, you can smell the bark. And in the snowy hollow, it is muffled and quiet. This is not romance, but stability, and it comes only from attention to detail. Those who pay attention to detail wake up in the morning. The hidden code that changes everything. If you turn nothing into noticed, chose, laid down, covered your breath, the night becomes a task of medium difficulty. On the plains, the main difficulty is the wind and openness. In the forest, it is dampness. In the north, it is temperature and snow settling. In each case, the rules are similar. High ground instead of low ground, dry instead of wet, dense instead of loose. And in each case, the first minutes are more important than the last. How you start is how you spend the night. This has been proven by generations. A secret that has only now been revealed to those who are used to backpacks and sleeping bags. Most steps do not require tools. Dry grass is torn by hand, bark is removed thinly without damaging the tree, and snow is compacted with your feet, not with something sharp. Leaves are gathered with a sweeping motion of the palms to keep them from getting wet, and the bedding is made thicker than seems reasonable. The first mistake is to skimp on the thickness of the bedding, and the second is to underestimate the wind. Both can be corrected immediately while there is still light. What experts don't talk about, but families know, spending the night without equipment begins long before nightfall in conversations and observations. Children listen to where the wind sleeps. Adults showed why a quiet place is sometimes noisy below and quieter above. Knowledge is not gathered in a book, it is gathered with your feet, eyes, and breath, and it does not require heroism. In the plains, forests, and north, there is only one approach. It is thrifty. Do you agree with this? Please tell us what you think about this, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Every opinion is valuable. Are you ready for the shocking truth? The warmest spot in the steppe is often not where your instincts tell you it is. On the plains, your gaze automatically seeks out low-lying areas. There is less wind there, and it seems like a shelter. But according to the same laws, cold air flows there. At night, it fills the hollows like water fills potholes after rain. The air is heavier at the bottom, it does not move, and therefore it is always colder at the bottom than at the top. The Cheyenne and Arapaho knew this without barometers. They did not set up camp on the plains or on the tops, but on the low ridges of the slopes. There the wind is already breaking, but the cold has not yet had time to gather in a pool. A few steps up and the night becomes shorter. There is no magic in this, only precise work with the terrain. Each step up is like an extra layer of clothing, a small adjustment that matters more than a jacket, which is not at hand anyway. What the government doesn't want you to know, a joke of course, but the wind has habits and they are as constant as those of people. In the evening, it subsides but does not disappear. It looks for crevices, ravines, open glades, anything that resembles a riverbed. The leeward side of the bushes is deceptive. The branches seem to protect, but they shed moisture. The ground beneath them is damp, and heat escapes through moisture faster than through air. Therefore, the smart ones chose not behind a bush, but slightly higher, in the shadow of the wind, where the grass is thicker, the ground is springy, and the earth gives off less moisture. Such a place seems to maintain its temperature, not letting it escape. If you listen carefully, even the air sounds different there, muffled, soft. The forest, no matter how safe it may seem, hides the same trap. A beautiful clearing at dawn turns into a pillow of cold. The Iroquois knew that the lowlands of the eastern forests hold fog, and fog silently draws out the heat. Higher up the slope, the air is drier, the leaves crunch, and the smell of decay is weaker. That's where you should go for bedding. At night, this little thing decides everything. Descend a meter lower, and your body will be covered with frost. Climb a meter higher, and you will sleep without shivering. Even the wind corridors of ravines, which seem safe during the day, become chimneys at night, where the air blows back and forth. The wind does not blow constantly, it breathes. And if you lie down in its breath, you will wake up from the cold. It is better to find a patch of dry leaves under an old maple or oak tree, where the rustle is uniform and the ground is warmer to the touch. The North taught me to be more subtle. Their snow is not just snow, but a whole grammar. The Cree, Athabascans, and Nenets distinguish dozens of its states. The crust sings underfoot, the powder whispers, the drift rustles, and the cemented layer rings. The best place is not on flat ground, but behind a wind-blown ridge. This ridge is the work of the wind, and it also dampens the new flow. Behind it, a pocket forms, a warm shadow in a cold field. In such a pocket, you can hide not only your body, but also your breath. Snow becomes a wall if you tamp it down, but only if you let it rest. Experienced hunters knew, step on it, level it, wait 10 minutes, and you get a dense, load-bearing surface. Make a mistake, and the night will turn into a layer of ice. Everything that happens in the shade is subject to micro-relief. In the steppe, centimeters determine where it will be warm. On the plain, warm air glides over cold air, and the slightest unevenness delays it. In the forest, roots and bumps direct the flow in the same way that stones direct water in a stream. One step to the right, one step to the left, and the draft is already different. Experienced campers felt this with their skin. On the snow, you can build a nest with your footsteps, a circle tamped down with your boots, which freezes into a wall and holds your body. At night, those centimeters turn into kilometers of comfort. The secret for which people pay in modern survival courses was born from ordinary observation. Look not only at your feet, but also up. The sky is not a decoration, but a thermometer. If the sky is covered with clouds in the evening, the night will be milder as the clouds return the Earth's heat to it. A clear, starry sky, on the contrary, pulls everything upward like a pump. This is especially noticeable on the plains. As soon as the sky clears, the wet grass turns to ice. That's why the flooring is made thicker, even if it seems warm. In the forest, the treetops retain moisture, so the right place is not under the green tent itself, but slightly to the side where the air is drier. In the north, starry silence means one thing. The walls of snow must be higher. Another secret is marking without tools. No rulers, no levels, just your body. Your foot is the measure of the thickness of the flooring. Your elbow is the height of the windbreak, and your palm is the angle of your back to the slope. Everything is checked with simple movements. The line of the head is always higher than the feet so that blood does not flow down and the cold does not rise to the face. On flat ground, it is better to lie with your back to a gentle slope than facing the stars. This way, your chest will cool down less. In the forest, listen for rustling. Where the leaves are dry, it is safer. Check the snow with a stick. If the sound is dull, the spot is stable. If it rings, it is fragile. These rules are not written down, but they have survived for centuries. The last thing that is easy to forget is the compromise between water and dryness. People instinctively seek water, but at night it is the enemy. Moisture rises as fog, settles as frost, and steals heat. That is why camps were not set up at the very edge, but on the second terrace, a small ridge where the air is cleaner and drier. At dawn, you can go down for water, but you need to sleep higher up. This pendulum between warmth and moisture made life predictable. In the morning, you go down. In the evening, you come back up. The quietest secret is the orientation of the body. The head end is always in a quiet corner. On the plain, in a hollow between two grassy mounds, in the forest, behind a tree trunk, on the snow, behind a snowdrift. Not against the wind, not with the wind, but at an angle. Let the wind flow along your legs without touching your chest. This way, your body rests, your breathing doesn't cool down, and you wake up at dawn, not from shivering. All this is a map for choosing a place, built not with instruments, but with attention. Small adjustments that determine the outcome of the night. In the next chapter, we will go further. We will build a shelter without a knife or ropes, using only what grass, leaves, and snow provide. What is more important for spending the night? Height above the ground or protection from the wind? Which would you choose if you only had half an hour left before dark? Are you ready to learn the truth about the simplest house that can be built without a single knot? It is not drawn, it is assembled. On the plains, the Lakota and Crow tribes had plenty of windbreaks made of tall grass and dry stalks. Not a wall, but a dense brush placed against the wind. Such a screen does not try to block the sky. It breaks the flow, disperses the pressure, leaving a pocket of silence behind. In it, you can make a bed of grass. Lie on your side in a shallow bowl where the air is still. Everything works not because of thickness, but because of direction. Even grass knows where the wind falls, and if you lay it in the same line, it helps rather than resists. People living on the plains understood that real protection is not from the wind, but in the ability to use its habits. Such windbreaks were assembled quickly. Short bundles of grass were placed overlapping, like bristles, so that the flow could not pass straight through. A layer of smaller stems was placed at the base, and long ones, almost shoulder length, on top. Everything was held together not by knots, but by pressure and the right weight. If the wind blew stronger, they simply added more grass. When it subsided, they removed some of it so that it would not rot. The house was not permanent, but it was reliable as long as it was needed. This is the philosophy of survival. Everything is temporary, but it must serve its purpose completely. This is something you won't see in a city park, but forest peoples knew it. Thickness is more important than density. The Iroquois gathered leaves not for softness, but for warmth. A layer thicker than a palm turned the bedding into a mattress that breathed, but did not let heat escape. The top layer was made of large leaves or thin strips of bark, like tiles. They did not lay everything down at once, but made sure that the bottom layer remained dry. Dryness means strength, while moisture leads to cold. The leaves were not laid tightly, but with an overlap so that air could remain inside. Air is heat. A roof of branches was added on top to allow moisture to drain away. This is not a frame, not a house in the usual sense. It is a canopy that is held up not by rigidity, but by mass and the right slope. There is no unnecessary geometry in it, only the logic of water drainage. The thicker the bedding and the softer the roof, the quieter the night. When it rains, you can hear it, but it's not scary. When the wind blows, it glides over. This is not engineering, but the craft of attentiveness. In the shade of conifers, the rules are different. All the material is already there. It is always dry under an old fir tree because the branches catch the water. The bedding under them is a ready-made carpet, soft and warm. A canopy was made from the lower dry branches, removed by hand. The base is a thick dead branch, on top of which is a sloping row of branches. On the windward side, it was denser, and on the exit side, it was sparser to allow for breathing. The wind flows around such a shape without tearing it apart. The air inside is slightly warmer because it does not move. It is not a hut, but a shawl made of needles. It is not built, but gathered. The secret that saved us in the snow: don't rush to dig. The Cree and Athapaskans started with a circle, trampled down with their feet. First, the ice must set, only then will it hold. Then they threw snow against the wall on the windward side, gently with their hands without breaking the structure. The wind itself helps by blowing up the embankment. The roof was made light, not thick, because the main task was not to press down, but to break the flow. When the walls are rounded, the wind loses its strength. It becomes quieter inside, which means warmer. The temperature under the snow stays above zero as long as the air does not move. A person does not heat the space. They stop giving off heat in vain. In the old archives of northern families, a short rule was found: breathe under the hem. It is not about poetry, but about physics. Any shelter without fabric lives on the verge of dampness. Breathe on the ceiling and it drips. Breathe into your sleeve and the air dissipates. The heat does not escape and moisture does not accumulate. That is why they always leave a small exit, narrow as a burrow. The head is in the quietest corner. The air should move slowly, like the breath of a sleeping person. They knew this without instruments. It's a mystery that's hard to accept for people who are used to straight lines. Nature doesn't like corners. A right angle cuts the flow, creates a vortex, and a vortex creates cold. A slope, a bend, a soft arc. Everything works better. A canopy of leaves is warmer when it resembles a slope rather than a roof. A windbreak made of grass is more effective when it is uneven, like an old hedge. A snow hole retains heat if its edge is not sharp. Nature loves the shape of the wind, rounded, not argumentative. The most important thing in these houses is not the speed of assembly, but the ability to gather a lot. A shelter is not made neatly, it is made sufficiently. Thickness is strength. Wet mass cools, dry mass warms, so time is spent not on decoration, but on finding dry materials. In the evening, when the sun sets, hands know what is more important: finding the right grass, leaves, and moss than cutting out a beautiful frame. The more material, the less work the wind has to do. That's the whole secret. What seems fragile is actually stronger than a rigid frame. At night, it is not strength that is needed, but elasticity. The bedding must compress and return to its original shape. The roof must bend but not break. The walls must spring. In such a structure, everything moves with the wind and nothing breaks. Cold nights are not about strength, but about flexibility. Behind the beautiful pictures of perfect huts lies a mistake. Real shelters were low, irregular, and thick. Height is the enemy of warmth. Thickness is its ally. The lower the profile, the less heat is lost. The wind finds no foothold and silence remains inside. Such shelters are not like houses, but they serve the same purpose. They keep a person alive. If you listen to these rules, it becomes clear that a person is not building a shelter, but an agreement with the wind. He does not fight it, he offers it a shape that it can flow around. And if everything is done correctly, the night passes quietly, even without a fire. Are you ready to learn more? How to make warmth without a spark, using only bedding, breath, and weight distribution? In the meantime, see how the same principles continue to live on in the bark houses, winter camps, and summer shelters of the peoples of North America. What if everything you've been taught is outdated? Fire isn't always flames and sparks. Real warmth often starts earlier, with air and bedding, with breathing and the right posture. In the plains where the night is longer than time itself, people knew that not every glow meant salvation. But there were moments when fire became possible even without metal and flint. Where the forest breathed resin, where the bark sprang underfoot, warmth was born of friction, patience, and hearing. In the eastern forests, where the grass is thinner than paper and the bark peels off in the wind, people produce smoldering embers using simple means: soft wood for the base, hardwood for the spindle. Everything else, hands, breath, and attention. The fire did not come on the first try. Sometimes it took 10 tries, sometimes only after a short break, when a person realized that haste destroys warmth. Friction is not about force, but about consistency. The movement should not be fast, but uniform. And only when the dust from the notch begins to smell like resin can you believe that warmth has been born. What happens in the shade of the clearing is not just work, but exploration. You need to find the dry heart of the tree. The outer layer always gives off moisture to the air, but inside the tree keeps its dryness as a secret. You can hear it by the sound. A dull sound means it's wet. A ringing sound means it's good. It is important not to chop, but to break off so as not to damage the core. Wood that produces dust rather than shavings is the right kind. Dust can be heated, shavings cannot. Therefore, a knife is not needed. What is needed is a good ear. Nearby, they prepare tinder, inner bark, moss, dry tinder fungi, thin grass fibers, and bundles of old nettles. All this is collected during the day while the shades are still visible. Dry things shine, wet things become cloudy. In the dark, it is too late to tell the difference by touch, the secret that changes everything. Warm air is an ally, cold air is an enemy. The wind carries the dust away before it has a chance to warm up. That is why decay is always hidden in a nest. The nest is made with the palm of the hand. Soft fibers are twisted together, leaving a hollow inside. When the dust begins to smoke, it is not shaken, but picked up as if it were alive. They pour it into the center of the nest, embrace it with fibers, and breathe on it briefly and evenly. They do not blow or move it. They simply allow the air to be warm. After a few breaths, the smell of resin is replaced by the smell of charcoal, which means that life has begun. Everything else is the work of hands and measures. The fire does not flare up, it awakens. And the task is not to force it, but not to scare it away. That is why in the old camps they used to say, "He who makes noise freezes it." Silence around the smoldering fire is a prerequisite. Even the sound of the wind can interrupt the process. What they won't write in tourist brochures, Not every fire is needed at night. The flames are visible from afar, especially on the plains. The wind picks up the sparks, and the light gives away the campsite. Sometimes it is wiser to lie down lower, holding your breath under your collar, than to burn wood for the sake of spectacle. Heat is not a spectacle, it is an exchange. On the plains, the night breathes the sky into the earth, and the flame is just a slit through which everything that has been accumulated escapes. That is why the Lakota and Arapaho kept their fires low, covered, sometimes just a palm's width. It did not heat the air, it heated the water. A cup of hot water in the stomach keeps you warm longer than a whole tower of flames. Everyone knew this. Water carries heat inside, while air carries it outside. That is why fire served a purpose: to warm, dry, and quench thirst. Afterwards, it went out. Smoke and ashes remained, but the body retained its heat. In the forest, the fire is hidden in a pit, a shallow depression in the ground, lined with stones or wet logs, allows the heat to rise without being wasted to the sides. The firewood consists only of thin, dry branches, no thick logs. The fire should not live longer than its purpose. It works, then rests. This is discipline, not chance. In the snow, it's the opposite. The fire is fed from above. First, a bed of wet logs is made, then small twigs are placed on top. The fire does not destroy the support if it is not fed from below. When the floor burns through, a flat hole remains where you can warm your hands without losing strength. All this requires not knowledge, but attentiveness. The secret that was passed on without words. Fire is a tool, not a friend or foe. It is subordinate to the goal. Its task is to cook, not to heat the space. The body will cope on its own if it is given warmth from within. That is why they taught in the camps. Fire feeds food, not air. Small, low, short, it lives nearby but does not demand attention. What happens in the shadows of history is respect, not struggle. The Lakota and Arapaho protected their fire from the wind, the Iroquois from dampness, and the Cree from the brittleness of frosty air. All of them protected it from excess light. Light wakes animals and makes the camp visible. Therefore, a real fire was as quiet as the breath of sleeping people. It knew its place and time. But if there was no fire, it was replaced by the body and the floor. Lying under a collar, breathing into your sleeve, knees pulled up, head in the shade. A person is also a stove if they don't let the heat escape. This is how nights without flames were born, where morning came anyway. There is a simple philosophy in this. Fire is not magic, but a skill in handling heat. Those who have it live longer. Those who don't look for miracles and freeze. The next chapter answers the nighttime question: where to get water without a flask, how to heat it without a pot, and how to make it warm you up instead of stealing your heat. For now, there is a simple choice. What is more important for the night? A small, smoldering fire that breathes, or a thick bedding that keeps you warm? At night, water is not only thirst, but also the risk of cooling down from the inside. On the plains, it is often heard before it is seen. The whisper of grass changes at damp spots. Eastern forests hide moisture in hollows where fog lingers longer than in other places. In the subarctic, water can be under a crust, and caution is important when choosing a place. In each region, the goal is the same: to drink enough so that you don't get colder. The best places on the plains are not at the very edge of the stream, but on the second step of the bank. There is less dampness and less wind, which cools your clothes. A slight slope indicates old water, where the soil is no longer soggy. Here you can collect moisture with a cloth or bark and let it drain. It is better to drink in small sips and not on the go. In the eastern forests, water likes to collect in the root bowls of old tree trunks. Clean drops accumulate there after fog and evening moisture. The water from these bowls is less cloudy than from a standing puddle. It is collected carefully so as not to stir up the sediment. And drink calmly, allowing your body to warm up from the inside. The secret of a frosty night is that snow is not as warm as water. In the subarctic, the Cree and Athabascan peoples knew that cold liquids can steal heat faster than you would like. Therefore, they do not eat snow, but let it melt from their own breath. A small lump in the palm of your hand, a slow breath through the fabric, and the sip is already softer. This way, the body remains calmer. A reliable sign of purity is movement. A flowing stream cleans itself better than a stagnant pool. But even in a stream, people take water from the surface, avoiding the bottom layer. Dirt likes the bottom and the edges, while the clear stream flows in the middle. This simple observation saves energy. At night, it is better not to chase a distant source. Any long walk means extra wind and sweat. It is smarter to take the closest option, even if it is not ideal. Water is important, but it is even more important to keep your skin dry. The morning will offer more opportunities. If there is no water at all, morning condensation works. In the plains, the grass glistens at dawn, and this is a gift. Leaves in the forest also hold drops if the night is quiet. Collecting is done with quick movements of the palms, without lingering in one place. A little moisture is still helpful. Drinking is a rhythm, not a one-time victory. Several small sips with pauses warm you better than one full sip. Between them, the body has time to regain its warmth. If it is cool, take sips less often. If it is warmer, you can take them more often. It is not the number that matters, but how you feel. In winter, water is also time. Melting snow means warming the air under your clothes. Here, the body works like a small furnace, and it needs to conserve energy. Therefore, all movements should be smooth and unhurried. The night loves regularity, and the last thing about water is where to sleep. Always choose a dry place that is higher than the water. Thirst can be solved in the morning, but cold needs to be solved right now. Those who look at their choices this way wake up clearer, and the day begins without unnecessary losses. Are you ready for the shocking truth? Heat is not created by fire, but by air captured in the right way. On the plains, a collar of grass around the shoulders retains heat better than thin fabric. In the forest, a layer of dry leaves behind the back replaces an entire mattress. On the snow, a wall of snowdrifts creates a quiet pocket for breathing. The first layer is dry contact. Your body should not touch the damp ground with even the palm of your hand. The role of a shirt here is played by the ground cover, grass, leaves, or smooth snow. The thicker it is, the more stable it is. Dryness is the main material. The second layer is an air trap. A light collar of dry material is placed over the chest. It does not press down, but hangs, trapping warm air. The wind glides over it without touching the skin. This is a habit, not a trick. Posture matters more than we want to admit. On flat ground, it is warmer to stand sideways to the wind than facing it. In the forest, it is better to curl up, keeping your knees close to your body. In the snow, your head should always be in a quiet corner, and your feet in the path of the wind. This way, your breath does not carry the heat outside. The secret of the hands is that they warm the body, not the other way around. The palms find a place between the layers of the collar and do not stick out. Fingers stop freezing when they are given warm air, not just friction. This simple rule is more pleasant than any trick, and it is repeated every night. Shoes without shoes are a dry bedding under your feet. In the plains, a thick tuft of grass works as a sole. In the forest, dry bark is laid in layers, like scales. On snow, you need a springy crust under your heels. Your feet will thank you. The face is a separate project. It is not covered tightly, but the breath is hidden under the edge of the collar. This way, warm steam returns inside instead of escaping. The eyes are allowed to look out through a narrow slit. This removes excess cold. The top layer is not clothing, but a cover for the air. Any material works better at an angle than in a tent. The wind glides over it, finding nothing to catch on. Silence appears, and with it, warmth. This is immediately apparent. Movement at night should be smart. If it's cold, change your position, don't run. If it's damp, add a layer, don't wait. Any fuss takes away your strength and leaves you feeling empty. The night doesn't like that. And now a basic question and a small announcement. Are you ready to see how to navigate in the dark without instruments so that in the morning you can go out to people or to a familiar trail? In the next chapter, you will learn how to read the stars, wind, and terrain so that the road finds itself. What is more important to you at night? Warmth in one place or confidence in your direction? The night is not a void, but a map if you know its signs. Stars are more visible on plains than in forests, and this is an advantage. In the forest, you can hear the terrain with each step. A bump changes your rhythm. On snow, the wind often sets the direction, pulling your tracks in one direction. All of this adds up to a path. The stars provide a stable reference point in clear weather. If a bright arc is visible above the horizon, its position repeats itself every night at the same time. It is enough to remember one or two reference points in the sky. They do not change order as quickly as it seems. This is enough for the course. The relief on the plains can be read by the water and grass. Old riverbeds are visible even in the dark because the grass there is lower and softer. Small ridges are harder underfoot and drier. Your step becomes springy, and this is a sign of an ascent. It is easy to maintain altitude with these signs. In the eastern forests, the landmarks are ridges and saddles. The hollows are damp and cold, and the step is sticky there. On the ridge, it is less damp, the wind is more stable, and the sound travels further. This helps to keep the line. Too deep down means a loss of heat and time. In the north, the wind is a constant companion. Its direction rarely changes sharply at night. The snowy surface traces the line along which it blew during the day. These tongues indicate the direction. It is enough to walk at an angle to stay on course. Sound at night is just as helpful as sight. The plain carries echoes far and evenly. The forest breaks up the sound, and it comes in waves. Snow muffles everything except the crunch underfoot. These signs help you understand where it is open and where it is closed. Speed is the enemy of accuracy in the dark. It is better to move in short segments between beacons. These beacons are silhouettes, folds, sparse bushes, or the edge of a clearing. Between them, the pace is steady and without acceleration. This makes it harder to lose your way. If there is fog, the landmarks are reduced to the nearest ones. Then choose one wind angle and keep it with your shoulder. Any turn is felt by the skin, and the course is not broken. It is slow, but reliable. Morning catches up quickly. The main goal of night orientation is not distance, but reaching a recognizable landmark. This could be a ridge, a terrace, the edge of a forest, or a tent in the snow. Any of these can become a path, and then the route becomes simple geometry. The rest will be done by daylight. This is not about catalogs, but about the principles of careful collection. On the plains, seed panicles and dry stems provide assistance. In the forest, it is the inner bark and broad leaves. In the north, it is lichens and dry grass. Brushes from the windward side. All of this provides material, warmth, and a little energy. Dry stems on the plains serve as both flooring and a collar. They are torn above the root so as not to pull the wet part. Roughly collected, they prick, so they are broken short. Short ones spring better, and they are easier to lay with your hands. The inner bark in the eastern forest is fiber. It is removed thinly only from pieces that have already fallen, without damaging the living tree. It makes light tinder and soft padding. It is dry inside, even when wet outside. This is the value of the night. Wide leaves are a cover for the air. They overlap like scales. Water rolls off rather than seeping through. A dry layer of leaf mass remains underneath, and the air is calmer there. In the north, dry lichens provide a thin but elastic layer. They are taken from windy places where they have already dried out. The mass of them will lie like a soft carpet. Such a carpet breathes and retains heat. It is not heavy and can be quickly assembled. Plants are not only warmth, but also a breath of strength. Seeds, where it is safe, give a little energy. They are not eaten in large quantities and do not cause sudden changes. At night, stability is important, not experimentation. Morning is always better for innovations. Thriftiness is a rule that generations have respected. Take what has already fallen and what will not cause harm. Dry is more pleasant and useful than wet. Once you leave, restore the area to its previous state. Fewer traces mean a peaceful forest. Gathering is not a race, but calm work. First the flooring, then the collar, then the cover. Order eliminates minor mistakes, and it gives you time to find the best place. The night benefits from this. The most important thing is to see the connection between the place and the gathering. The wind will show where the material will be dry. The terrain will indicate where to put it. Your breath will tell you when it is enough. It is a circle that closes on its own. Safety at night is the predictability of your own actions. Every movement is repeated in the same way and without fuss. Routine is not boring, it is comforting. This is how the body conserves energy, and thoughts remain calm. The first rule is not to expand your tasks. If you have found a place and gathered flooring, there is no need to improve it for no reason. Extra steps mean extra moisture and wind. Let the system do its job. The morning will show what to add. The second rule is silence instead of struggle. The wind screams, but you don't have to listen to it. It is enough to hide in the right geometry. Inside it, the sounds fade into the background, and sleep comes on its own. The third rule is to check in frequently instead of constantly. Check the edge of the collar, the dryness under your back, and the position of your head. Leave the rest alone. This means less fuss and fewer mistakes, and it's warmer. The fourth rule is to free your thoughts from what-ifs. Nighttime is not the place for long-term plans. What's important here is breathing, dryness, and rhythm. The rest can wait. The morning is generous to those who are in no hurry. The fifth rule is to take care of your skin. A dry surface is half the battle when it comes to warmth. Any moisture should be removed immediately without delay. Your palms and face are protected by the collar. It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference. The sixth rule is short warm-ups without sweating. If it's cold, change your posture and move your body slightly. The movements are small but frequent. They do not make the heart race, and the warmth returns. The seventh rule is not to listen to the cold, but to read it. The cold comes through specific gaps. Cover them with material, don't tolerate them. When the gaps are closed, silence returns, and the night becomes shorter. The eighth rule is to keep your head in a quiet corner. There, your breath does not flow away. It is easier to sleep there, and sleep is warmer. The morning comes without aches and pains, and the rhythm of the day is not broken. The ninth rule is respect for the place. When leaving, leave nothing behind except trampled grass. In the forest, return the leaves to their place. On the snow, destroy pockets so that the wind can smooth them out. This is part of the culture. Morning is not the end, but a test of the night. If it stayed warm, it's easier to wake up. The first movement is toward the air, the second toward the water. The third is toward the road. This is the order that saves energy. First, get your breathing in order. A couple of deep breaths through the fabric restore clarity, then carefully untangle the collar. The material remains dry and can be carried. It will come in handy again. Water in the morning helps gently if you drink it with pauses. The warmth after the night is fragile, and it is not broken by a cold rush. The face and palms get a sip of warmth from the sun, then a sip of water. It's a little ritual. The road is a continuation of the night's logic. It is better to move at a height, avoiding dampness. On the plains, along the ridges, in the forest, along the crests, on the snow, along the dense crust. This makes the journey easier. The place where you spent the night is returned to its original state. The flooring is dismantled and scattered in a thin layer. Footprints are smooth with your feet. On the snow, everything is erased by the wind. In the forest, everything is covered by leaves. After the night, it is useful to briefly recall your decisions. Where was it warmer? Where was it drier? What worked best? These notes will remain in your memory, and the next night will be easier. This is experience. The day likes a moderate start. There is no need to rush and catch up with the clock. The body appreciates an even pace. The plan is built from water to height, and then on to familiar landmarks. If there is another night ahead, it is worth gathering materials in advance. On the plains, dry grass; in the forest, leaves and bark. On the snow, find a windward spot. This way, the evening will begin calmly, and you will have enough strength. The most important thing after the night is respect for simplicity. There are no miracles here. There is observation, the thickness of the layers, and silence. They bring the morning, and they bring confidence. And finally, there are memories of the place and the people who taught us to notice the details. On the plains, in the forests, and in the north, this attentiveness was passed down as a custom. It does not require heroism or loud words. It requires care, and it brings warmth. Which of these practices did you find most useful? Choosing a quiet place, a collar made from improvised materials, or nighttime orientation without instruments? Share your thoughts in the comments and suggest topics for future videos about the life and knowledge of the peoples of North America. If you like this kind of calm and detailed analysis, subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories ahead, gathered from the earth, wind, and patience.